The red warning lights flashed across the massive council chamber as beings from 100 different worlds gathered in panic. Something was wrong. Very wrong. For the first time in 3 centuries, a signal had come from the Forbidden Zone, the place they called the Sol System. Ambassador Zeth Kree's 4 eyes stared at the transmission screen, his tentacles trembling as he tried to make sense of what he was seeing. The signal was coming from deep inside the Death Zone, from a system so dangerous that even their most advanced probes have been destroyed just trying to get close. "This has to be some kind of mistake," whispered Counselor Vexani, her breathing apparatus wheezing as stress chemicals flooded her system. She was one of the oldest members of the Council, and in all her years, nothing like this had ever happened. The Sol System was marked with every warning symbol they had, radiation levels that would cook most species in seconds, gravity wells that would crush bones, and a violent yellow star that threw deadly energy across space. But the message was clear, transmitted in broken but recognizable galactic standard language. A species calling themselves humans was asking for first contact from inside the Death Zone. Captain Jake Morrison's voice cut through the static again, and every being in the chamber felt a chill run through their bodies. The voice was calm, confident, almost casual. "This is Earth Defense Command to Galactic Council. We know you're listening. We've been watching your broadcast for 37 years now. Pretty interesting stuff out there. We figure it's time we introduce ourselves properly." The chamber erupted in confused chatter. Earth? What was Earth? Their star chart showed nothing in the Sol System except a few dead rocks orbiting a dangerous star. The whole region had been marked as uninhabitable for as long as anyone could remember. Counselor Thexmar, a being made of living crystal who had survived for over 1,000 years, spoke up with a voice like grinding stone. "Impossible. Our surveys show Sol as a Class 12 death system. The radiation alone would kill any known life form. The gravity on those worlds would crush our strongest soldiers. The atmospheric compositions are pure poison." But Jake Morrison's voice came through again, and this time there was something that sounded almost like laughter. "Yeah, we get that a lot. Look, we know this probably comes as a shock. We've been debating whether to make contact for decades. But we've been listening to your council sessions, your trade discussions, your scientific conferences. We think it's time we join the conversation." The Prime Counselor, a massive being whose species had ruled the galaxy center for millennia, slowly rose from his seat. His voice boomed across the chamber with the weight of authority that had kept peace among 1,000 worlds. "If there is truly intelligent life in the Sol System, then we must investigate. But understand, our records show that system is lethal to all known forms of life. Whatever you are, you should not exist." Morrison's response was quick and surprisingly friendly. "Well, that's the thing about humans, sir. We tend to exist in places where we probably shouldn't. We got a saying here, life finds a way. And boy, did it ever find a way on Earth." The tension in the chamber was thick enough to cut. Some council members were already calling for military intervention. Others demanded immediate evacuation of nearby systems. But the oldest and wisest among them were simply staring at the transmission in wonder. "Send a diplomatic probe. Order the Prime Counselor finally. Full defensive capabilities, maximum shielding. If something is actually alive in that nightmare of a system, we need to know what we're dealing with. And more importantly, we need to know how long they've been watching us." As the session ended and being scattered to their ships and home worlds, one thought echoed through every mind present. If creatures could somehow survive in the deadliest system in the galaxy, what else were they capable of? And why had they chosen now, after 37 years of silence, to finally say hello? The age of humanity was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Lieutenant Amy Chin stood on the landing platform at Edwards Air Force Base, watching the alien scout ship struggle through what humans called a beautiful sunny day. The ship's shields were burning white-hot as it pushed through Earth's atmosphere, and she could almost hear the screaming of its environmental systems from where she stood. She adjusted her standard military fatigues and checked her radio one more time. No environmental suit, no breathing apparatus, no protective gear at all. Just a regular human standing in regular Earth air on a regular Tuesday afternoon. The kind of day that would apparently kill most of the galaxy's intelligent life in about 3 minutes. Control, this is Chun. The visitors are coming in hot. Their ship looks like it's barely holding together, just flying through our air. She paused, watching the vessel's desperate attempt to land safely. Permission to greet our guests? The response crackled through her earpiece. Permission granted, Lieutenant. Try not to terrify them too much just by existing. Amy couldn't help but smile. After 37 years of listening to galactic communications, humanity had learned that they were considered impossible by the rest of the universe. Their home world registered as what the aliens called a Class 12 death system, the kind of place where nothing should live, let alone build cities and have barbecues on weekends. The alien ship finally touched down with a grinding crash that suggested their landing systems weren't designed for Earth's crushing gravity. Amy walked over casually, her boots crunching on the gravel. Each step was apparently equivalent to a massive impact by galactic standards, but to her it felt like walking to the mailbox. "Welcome to Earth," she radioed to the ship, knowing they were probably still sealed inside running full decontamination procedures. "Hope you brought environmental suits. I hear our gravity's a bit much for most folks." The response came back in heavily accented galactic standard. "Human Chun, we are attempting to exit safely. Our sensors indicate lethal atmospheric conditions and dangerous gravity levels. Please maintain safe distance for your own protection." Amy looked around at the perfectly normal air she'd been breathing her entire life and had to suppress a laugh. "Copy that. Take your time. The weather's actually pretty nice today." 20 minutes later, the alien diplomatic team finally emerged from their ship. They looked like they were preparing to walk on the surface of a star. Full environmental suits, triple-sealed helmets, gravity compensation, devices strapped to every limb, and medical monitoring equipment that beeped constantly with warnings. The lead diplomat, who introduced himself as Kethvar through his suit's external speakers, moved like he was walking through thick mud. Every step was calculated and careful, as if the ground might give way beneath him at any moment. "Your world is intense," Kethvar managed to say, his suit systems working overtime to keep him alive in what humans considered mild spring weather. Dr. Michael Torres arrived just then, jogging across the tarmac from the research building. He wasn't running because of any emergency. He just spotted something interesting in the sky and wanted to get a better look. But to the aliens, watching this human move at what they considered superhuman speed across deadly terrain, it must have looked like some kind of incredible feat of strength and endurance. "Hey there," Michael called out cheerfully, not even slightly out of breath. "Sorry I'm late. Got distracted by those storm clouds rolling in from the west." He pointed toward the horizon, where dark clouds were gathering. "Rain's actually pretty mild today. You should see it during hurricane season. That's when it gets really fun." Through their helmet displays, the aliens watched the readouts from their sensors. The approaching weather system registered as a Class 7 atmospheric disaster event, the kind of storm that would require immediate planetary evacuation on most civilized worlds. And this human was looking forward to it. Kethvar's suit began beeping more urgently as his stress level spiked. Around them, he could see human children playing in what is computer classified as biohazardous precipitation, ordinary earth rain that was apparently deadly to most galactic life. The children were laughing and running through puddles, completely unprotected, treating the dangerous liquid like it was some kind of entertainment. "This is impossible," he whispered to his team through their private communication channel. "These beings are living unprotected on a world that should kill them instantly. They're not just surviving, they're thriving." Amy noticed the aliens huddled together and decided to help them feel more comfortable. "Don't worry about the rain," she said kindly. "It's just water falling from the sky. Happens all the time here. We actually need it to grow our food." The concept of using deadly atmospheric precipitation for agriculture made Kethvar's species equivalent of knees go weak. These humans didn't just tolerate their death world. They had built their entire civilization around embracing its dangers. As the first drops of rain began to fall, the alien sensors went completely haywire, and Amy Chin realized that humanity's first contact was going to be a lot more complicated than anyone had imagined. The alien medical officer Ythera felt her breathing apparatus malfunction for the third time as she watched something that should have been impossible through the observation window of St. Mary's Hospital. She stared at Dr. Lisa Park working in conditions that would kill most galactic species in seconds. The human doctor wasn't wearing any protective equipment. No radiation shielding, no atmospheric filters, no gravity compensators. She was just standing there in the lethal Earth environment, casually reattaching a construction worker's severed arm like it was the most normal thing in the universe. How is she doing that? Yathera whispered to her recording device, her voice shaking. The patient is conscious. He's talking to her. On our worlds, an injury like this would mean immediate death or complete limb replacement with mechanical parts. Dr. Park looked up from her work and noticed the alien observers through the window. She gave them a friendly wave with one hand, while continuing to work with the other. The construction worker, a man named Pete Williams who'd been injured at a building site that morning, actually turned and waved too. "Tell them I said thanks for stopping by," Pete called out cheerfully. "Never had aliens watch me get patched up before. Pretty cool." Yathera's medical scanner was going crazy. According to her instruments, the human patient should be in shock from blood loss, unconscious from pain, and dying from the toxic atmosphere. Instead, he was making jokes and asking Dr. Park about her weekend plans. "The human body is apparently designed for this environment," Dr. Park explained later, still wearing nothing but regular surgical scrubs. "What you call a death world, we call home. Our biology adapted to handle things that would be lethal to most species. High oxygen content, variable pressure, intense radiation from our sun. It's all just part growing up on Earth." Meanwhile, across town at Lincoln Elementary School, another group of alien observers was documenting what they thought might be a military training facility. Their computers had classified the location as Advanced Combat Conditioning Center based on the activities they were witnessing. Children between the ages of 6 and 12 were engaged in what the Alien Military Handbook described as high-speed pursuit training, projectile evasion exercises, and team-based tactical maneuvering. The alien observers watched in amazement as these young humans displayed reflexes and physical capabilities that would be impressive in trained galactic soldiers. "Target acquired," announced 8-year-old Jenny Martinez as she chased her friend Billy across the playground. "You can't escape." The alien tactical analyst, Zextor, nearly dropped his recording equipment. "Did you hear that? Military terminology from a juvenile human. They're training their offspring for combat from an extremely young age." But then he watched more closely and realized something that made his understanding of humans shift completely. The children weren't training for war. They were playing. What his military computers classified as advanced combat conditioning was something humans call tag and dodgeball. These kids were having fun while casually demonstrating physical abilities that would qualify them for elite military units on most galactic worlds. 10-year-old Katie Thompson threw a rubber ball with such precision and speed that Zextor's equipment registered it as a kinetic projectile weapon. But Katie was just trying to get her classmate out in a game, laughing the whole time. "They're not warriors," Zextor realized, speaking into his communicator. "They're just living normally. This is what childhood looks like on a death world." The real shock came when the aliens visited the industrial sector and met engineer Tom Bradley. He was showing off humanity's latest mining equipment, machines designed to work in conditions that the galactic community considered uninhabitable. "This beauty here can operate at the bottom of our deepest oceans," Tom said, patting a massive drilling machine like it was a pet dog. "Pressure down there would crush most spacecraft. But this thing just keeps on working. And over here, we've got our lunar mining gear, designed to handle the radiation on our moon surface." The alien engineers looked at their scanners in disbelief. Tom was talking about working on the moon, a dead, radioactive rock that orbited their death world, like it was just another job site. "We learned early on that if you can build it to survive Earth, it'll work pretty much anywhere," Tom continued, completely unaware that he was describing technology that surpassed anything in the galactic database. "Our basic steel can withstand temperatures that would melt most alloys. Has to, really, our planet throws some pretty intense weather at us." He pointed to a construction site where workers were building a new factory. "See that storm coming in? That's just a regular thunderstorm, but it packs more energy than most species use to power their entire cities. We just keep working through it. The alien observers watch human construction workers continue their jobs as lightning split the sky and rain poured down in sheets. What they were witnessing wasn't a species of super soldiers or advanced warriors. These were just ordinary people who had learned to thrive in conditions that would kill most of the galaxy. They're survivors, whispered the lead alien scientist. Not conquerors, not warriors. They're the ultimate survivors who've turned surviving impossible conditions into an art form. And humanity was just getting started showing them what life on a death world really looked like. The emergency session of the Galactic Council looked like complete chaos. Representatives from over 300 worlds were shouting, arguing, and panic-transmitting messages back to their home governments. Some were demanding immediate military action. Others were calling for full evacuation of nearby systems. A few were just staring at their screens in shock, trying to process what they were seeing. Captain Rachel Stevens sat calmly in her command chair aboard the Earth vessel Endurance, watching the pandemonium through the transmission feed. Behind her, through the massive viewports of her ship, Earth hung in space like a beautiful blue and green marble. To the aliens watching, it looked like a nightmare world that should have been nothing but molten rock and poisonous gas. "Council members, please," Rachel said in the same tone she might use to calm down an excited classroom. "I know this is a lot to take in, but we really do come in peace." Prime Counselor Youthmay, a being whose species had maintained galactic peace for over 2,000 years, was struggling to maintain his composure. His tentacles were twitching with stress, and his usually commanding voice came out as barely a whisper. "Captain Stevens," he managed to say, "our records indicate your system has been classified as uninhabitable for millennia. Class 12 death system. Nothing should be able to live there, let alone develop space travel. Yet our sensors show massive cities, agricultural areas, and what appears to be a thriving industrial civilization." Rachel glanced back at Earth and smiled. "Yeah, we get that a lot. Home sweet home, right? Look, I know this is probably a shock, but we've actually been aware of you folks for quite a while now." The council chamber fell dead silent. You could have heard a pin drop if pins existed in zero gravity. "We've been listening to your broadcasts for about 43 years, Rachel continued casually. "Your entertainment programs, your news networks, your diplomatic channels, even your military communications. Pretty fascinating stuff, really. We've learned a lot about how the galaxy works." Counselor Vexani, her breathing apparatus working overtime, leaned forward in her seat. "You've been spying on us? For decades." "Spying is such an ugly word," Rachel said with a grin. "We prefer learning about our neighbors. And honestly, we stayed quiet because we figured the moment you realized we existed, you'd probably try to blow us up." The brutal honesty of her statement hit the council like a shockwave. Several representatives shifted uncomfortably because deep down, they knew she was probably right. "Think about it from our perspective," Rachel explained, her voice still friendly but now carrying a more serious tone. "We're from what you call death worlds. We breathe poison, live under crushing gravity, and somehow manage to build civilizations in conditions that would kill most of you instantly. The galaxy's track record with species it considers dangerous isn't exactly encouraging." Prime Counselor Youthmay felt something he hadn't experienced in centuries. Genuine fear mixed with curiosity. "What exactly are you capable of? Your technology, your military strength?" Rachel laughed, and the sound was somehow both reassuring and terrifying. "That's the thing, Counselor. We're not really military people. We're problem solvers. When you grow up on a planet that's constantly trying to kill you, you get really, really good at fixing impossible situations." She gestured to someone off-screen, and the transmission expanded to show other humans working at various stations. They all looked completely relaxed, like they were having a casual conversation instead of making first contact with an entire galactic civilization. "For the past 20 years, we've been quietly helping out in what you call the dead zones," Rachel said. "You know, those systems you write off as extinct or impossible. Turns out there's a lot of life out there if you know how to look for it." The implications of her words were staggering. The galaxy had millions of systems classified as dead or uninhabitable. If humans had been working in those areas, "You've been helping our extinct species?" asked Counselor Thexmar, his crystal body flickering with confused light patterns. Extinct is such a final word, Rachel replied. We prefer temporarily displaced or environmentally challenged. Amazing what you can accomplish when you're not afraid of little radiation, toxic atmosphere, or gravitational anomaly. She paused for effect, watching the council members process this information. Some were calculating the implications for galactic politics. Others were wondering what other impossible things humans might be capable of. We've been building what we call the Sanctuary Coalition, Rachel continued. Species that everyone thought were gone forever, worlds that everyone wrote off as dead, entire civilizations that just needed a little help from folks who understand what it's like to live in impossible places. Prime Counselor Youthmay felt his worldview shifting like tectonic plates. How many species have you helped? Rachel's smile was the kind that suggested the galaxy was about to discover just how little it really knew about itself. Want to meet them? She asked simply. We've got representatives from about 47 different species, standing by. Some of them have been waiting a very long time to say hello to the galaxy that forgot they existed. The silence that followed was the kind that comes just before everything changes forever. The moment Commander David Park gave the signal, 17 different star systems across the galaxy suddenly came alive with activity. Ships that had been hidden for decades dropped their stealth fields. Massive space stations materialized out of what the galaxy had thought was empty void. Entire civilizations that had been written off as extinct began broadcasting on every frequency imaginable. The Galactic Council's monitoring stations went absolutely crazy. Emergency alerts flooded in from every corner of known space as sensors detected impossible readings from systems that were supposed to be dead, empty, or too dangerous for any form of life. This is Commander Park of the Earth vessel New Horizon. Came the comm transmission that somehow reached every inhabited world in the galaxy simultaneously. Sorry for the dramatic reveal, but we figure it was time you met the neighbors. On the main viewing screen in the council chamber, images began flooding in from systems that hadn't been visited by galactic ships in centuries. The Kepler 442 system, which had been abandoned after its sun went unstable, now showed lush green worlds orbiting peacefully. The Vega system, abandoned due to deadly radiation levels, was covered in massive crystal structures that seemed to be harvesting energy directly from the radioactive star. We call it the Sanctuary Coalition, Park continued, and his voice carried a warmth that made even the most panicked council members pause to listen. Turns out the galaxy is absolutely packed with life. You just have to know where to look and how to help it grow. The first species to come online was from Kepler 442b, a world that had been evacuated 300 years ago when its gravity had increased to 7 times galactic standard. The beings who appeared on screen were the Kethani, a species everyone thought had gone extinct when their world became uninhabitable. Greetings, Galactic Council, said Elder Yext, her forearms moving in traditional greeting gestures that hadn't been seen in centuries. We are honored to rejoin galactic civilization. The humans found us when we were down to our last few thousand survivors, hiding in underground caverns. They didn't just rescue us, they helped us turn our changed world into something beautiful. The transmission showed vast cities built into the high-gravity environment, with architecture that used the intense gravitational pull as a feature rather than fighting against it. Gardens grew in spiraling patterns that would have been impossible under normal gravity. Children played in gravitational fields that would crush most galactic species. The humans taught us that our cursed world wasn't a prison. Elder Yext continued. It was just home with different rules. Next came the crystalline beings from Vega Prime. Their bodies adapted to thrive in radiation levels that would kill most organic life within minutes. Their spokesperson, a being that introduced itself as Resonance of Solar Winds, spoke through harmonic vibrations that the human translation systems somehow converted into perfect galactic standard. The radiation that drove others away feeds our civilization, Resonance explained. The humans helped us build solar collection networks that turn our star's deadly output into power for the entire system. We now provide clean energy to 47 different coalition worlds. The revelations kept coming. The Wanderer clans in the void between stars have been thought extinct for a millennium, but they appeared healthy and thriving. Their bioships adapted to survive in the cold emptiness of deep space. They had become the Coalition's communication network, carrying messages between distant systems faster than any technology the regular galaxy possessed. Each species we found was facing extinction for the same reason, Commander Park explained as the testimonials continued. The galaxy had written them off because their homes had become too dangerous, too different, or too difficult to deal with. But humans come from a death world. We specialize in impossible situations. The transformation footage was breathtaking. Desert worlds turned into agricultural paradises through human terraforming techniques. Frozen ice balls converted into thriving water worlds. Even asteroids have been turned into garden habitats where refugee species could rebuild their civilizations. We've been doing this for 23 years, Park said. Every time we found a dead system, we investigated. Every time the galaxy declared a species extinct, we went looking for survivors. What we discovered is that life doesn't give up as easily as bureaucrats do. Prime Counselor Youthmay found himself staring at population figures that didn't make sense. The Coalition wasn't just 17 systems. It was hundreds. Thousands of worlds that had been crossed off galactic maps were now showing as inhabited, protected, and thriving under human guidance. But why? He finally managed to ask. Why go to such lengths for species you'd never met? Commander Park's answer was simple, and it would echo through galactic history for centuries to come. Because we know what it's like to live on a world that everyone thinks should kill you, he said. And we learned something important. The most dangerous places in the universe don't create the most dangerous people. They create the most protective ones. The transmission showed Earth one final time, that beautiful blue marble that registered as a Class 12 death system, now revealed as the heart of the largest humanitarian network the galaxy had ever seen. No species should face extinction alone, Park concluded. That's the only rule we live by. Welcome to the age of death world diplomacy. The galaxy would never be the same.